Hi everyone, it's Diane. My Shabby Journals are finished. These are a traveler's notebook style. I think they're slightly larger than an insert, so you might not be able to put them in your traveler's notebook. Looking for my ruler. Here it is. I know it's 8.5 inches tall, and it's 4.25 inches wide. They are all made with a craft cardstock patterned paper. I believe it's from Recollections, but these are some of the last of these pages, and I don't remember what the name of it was. It might have been Haberdashery, but I'm not sure. So anyway, they're all pretty much the same. They have different pictures and things like that, but all of the elements are the same. And I'm going to put them all in one listing. I'm not going to try to sell them individually, I think. I'm just going to put them all in one listing. I don't know. Should I name them? So that you can... I don't know what I'm going to do. This one has a moth, so that one can definitely be differentiated from the rest of them. So I think I'm just going to put them all in one listing, and when you order one, I'll just pick one out and send it to you. So let's start with the moth one. I did tie them up with sari silk this time instead of seam binding or ribbon. So that one's kind of a lavenderish color of sari silk. It seems like some of these colors tend to be toward the lavender. And each one has a collage on the front with this element that I made with a slide mount and Mod Podged tissue paper with a digital image behind. And I collaged them with vintage crochet and lace. There's paper lace there. There's coffee dyed tracing paper there. I added one of the Tim Holtz stick pin, loop pin things inside the slide mount, and then just tied some string to the top just for a fun element. And there's a little button there. This is I love this little piece right here, and I think this is part of that too, hanging out. I think there are 12 pages. Counting the cover, I'm not sure. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. I didn't count the doily. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's 11 pages. Sheets. There's 11 folded sheets, so that's 44 pages front and back. Okay, so let's just go in. I was thinking about adding something to the front of this. I will add a label here that you can write your name on. You can see the stitches. So, I don't know. What do you think? Should I add a piece of pattern paper here just to cover that up? I didn't, as you can see. This is lined coffee dyed paper. This is the 8x8 paper that inspired me to put these journals together. This was given to me by my friend Julie Mangold quite a long time ago, and I've really been hoarding it. I absolutely love it. And I thought this made a really good series of one signature journals using this paper. So I did not cut the 8x8 paper. I folded it in half and then made this cover 1/2 inch bigger around. So that's why it's a little bit bigger than a traveler's notebook insert. But all of these pages, most of them, feature collage and vintage photos, and they're double-sided, so that's really cool. So, like I said, they all have the same elements. So there are pockets made out of collaged laces and doilies and linens and things like that. So this is another piece of this piece of linen. And just some collaged bits here. And this is a paper doily that I made with my die cut machine. And a little button. Love this piece right here. Absolutely love this. This was a part of a collar, and you'll see more pieces like this in the other journals. And I just added this crocheted piece in a little square of fabric. I wanted to have lots of layers in these journals. This is a tag that I had made quite some time ago. It's just 2 pieces of paper cut out and sewn together, but I punched a hole and sandwiched a piece of sheer vellum paper, and this is grid vellum. I think it was architect's paper or engineer's paper or something like that. That goes in there, and then this is just a part of a Marion Smith Prima paper. This is from a book on antique furniture. There's a pretty vintage doily. This is coffee dyed craft paper, but it's kind of a glassine type of coffee dyed paper. Another one of those, I believe they're Seven Gypsies papers. I am not sure because, like I said, they were given to me, but they look like Seven Gypsies to me. This is a vintage receipt from a pad that I found at a flea market for Meredith Bottling Works, and I love that it's pink. And then this is from a vintage bridge score sheet, and I collaged them with some vintage trims in crochet, and then you can write on them. Music from a vintage music book. This is vintage graph paper with a very large grid on it. I made these fabric tabs. A lot of these elements, this pocket, I think maybe the collages and these tabs and other elements are shown in some preceding videos for my Shabby Journal series. It's made on fabric, a strip of fabric that wraps around, and my video shows how that's done. And I got that from Nancy from Wishes and Weeds, and she got it from Wendy from Wendy's Journal Adventures, and I think we all did our own adaptation of them. This is a pocket made from a piece of yellow copy paper that I had coffee dyed, and I just cut a strip of it and made a pocket. This is a doily piece paper doily that I made with my Big Shot again. A piece of film strip that came out of a slide, and then a digital photo and some lace. This one is vintage, this one is not. This is one of the cut-off pieces from these covers. You can journal on the back. And this is another cut-off piece, one of these. And again, open it up and journal on it. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so I don't have to keep picking this up. And I left this as it is, this collage of vintage photos. It's pretty cool. And I made this pocket with more cutoffs of this cardstock, the various different patterns. And this is just a stamped image. This is a vintage, out of a vintage book from a hardware store. So there's a little bit of handwriting there and a check mark done in pencil. Oh, I have two of these tags in here. I'm going to switch this out for something else in one of the other books, I think, so we don't have two of that type in here. This is another tag that I made in a Scrapistry episode, and you could glue some paper in here to write on it. I didn't do that. And yeah, it's like a matchbook style tag. I'm going to stick this right there so I remember where to go to replace that. There's another one of the fabric and lace tabs. And here we have a collage with a die cut element from a Tim Holtz die. A couple of little circles in here. This one is a Tim Holtz bottle cap, so it's not genuine. And this is just a little round tag on a little tiny brown envelope. I believe it's 2 inches by 2 inches without the flap, but I glued the flap down so you can't close it. And vintage tatting here, little tiny piece of vintage. Oh, actually, this is all together. This is all one piece. This is attached to it, and this little rosette. Then we have vintage lace again, or crochet trim. It's not handmade, but it is vintage. This is a vintage mesh fabric that I love. The paper lace and a piece of vintage linen. It's more applique embroidery type of stuff. I just cut a piece of it out and then glued that piece of fabric there. It's just a little flip. And then on the back of each one is one of the slotted dies from Tim Holtz, and I added a lot of little tiny elements. Some of them you can take out and write on the back. Some of them are just decorative. There are some vintage tickets included, so this one has 2 tickets, and I just added some numbers for fun because I like numbers. So there's that one, the Moth one. And then this one, I love the napkin, or the tissue paper that I used on the slide mount. I love the colors. A little bit of vintage tatting there. Vintage lace piece, very fine and delicate. It's just all vintage laces here. And a little button. Again, the little loop pin. And the doily wraps around. I'll go through these more quickly because they're the same elements. I love this piece also. There are, I think, several pieces of this lace in here. I added this trim on top of it. This is, I think this is from another late vintage collar with a filet crochet. And the paper doily that I made with the big shot and some more vintage lace. Now I thought about cutting off this flap because it got bent and it's kind of rolling, but I'm going to leave it, and if the recipient wants to cut it off, they can. A vintage receipt again, but this one is Earl S. Johnson Wholesale Fruit and Produce. Potatoes, a specialty. The phone number is 234. And it's in Naples, New York, and it's from 1940 something. There's some vintage laces there to decorate. Again, this is from a vintage antique book. It's a vintage book about antiques. This paper is the handwriting practice paper, but it's a vintage one. I'll show you the collage here close up. This has chairs on it, and so this paper is just a scrap that I've had. I've had it folded and punched like this for a long time, waiting to go in a journal, and it's got chairs on it, so I put it in here. And here is the collaged tab, fabric and lace tab. And another one there. This is a stamp of a patent diagram of a old-fashioned typewriter, and a vintage ticket for school lunch, and a little button. And then I just added these coffee dyed index card with a ruffle, fabric ruffle on it, and then this tag. I made this in a recent video. I believe this was one of the Somerset inspired elements on my videos. I do have a playlist for Somerset inspired videos, as well as playlists for stashistry and scrapistry projects. Again, the collage with the little pocket and little round things inside it. This is the mesh fabric and another piece of the really lovely lace that I love, and part of that collar. And I believe every one of these slotted pockets has a Tim Holtz paper doll in it. Now this one, I couldn't find the little label part that punches out, that you can punch out with the pocket, and I didn't feel like cutting out more. So I just used this little digi and sewed it on. And then of course I found this. But I like that. That's fine. Now the other two are tied again with sari silk, but it's more of a burgundy color. This is burgundy. And I love this tissue paper that looks like a map. And I just love all the vintage laces and doilies and things. There's some filet crochet there. This opens up and you can write on it. This is that gorgeous collar. I use quite a few different collars in these books. A book about collectibles and antiques. This one looks like aprons. Another vintage receipt from Walter Chaffee hardware store in Ulster, Pennsylvania, which is about 20 minutes from me. 20 to 25 minutes. Love that little piece of tatting up there. This is from a book on antiques and collectibles. I sewed it to coffee dyed paper. These books were so much fun to make. I just did that one today. These pockets I did today, but let's see, this video will be shown on Monday, and the video for these was published on Sunday. This, I want to be careful because if I close it too quickly, this will fold up. So I just hold it down as I fold the page over. Again, this really lovely piece. It was used as a front decoration and a pocket at the bottom, and now it's part of a flip. So it got used a lot. And here's the other side of that little, I'm looking for a piece that I can stick in there. The little collar. This collar extends over here. And I was going to tuck something in there. It's a little Tim Holtz advertising card. And you got the Rootin' Tootin' Cowgirl in this one. I added, after the video, well just today, I added this because I felt like it needed something else. And this is just a printable envelope, but you can open it up and write in it, or you can seal it and tuck something in there. I'll leave that up to you. It's a leftover digital from Porch Swing Designs from one of the kits that I used. I don't want to push things down in there. Oh well, I'll do that. I just can't get a hold of it to get it in there. And then the last one is this gorgeous one, and this was a piece of tissue paper that looked like burlap and lace, but it almost looks like I stenciled with vintage photo on there. Some gorgeous tatting, more gorgeous tatting. And this one was a bit different because it has a bird at the bottom, so I kept the collage up there. This one has a collar that wrapped around here, so I just put this little digital in there, tucked it in there. There's the collar with some filet crochet and a crocheted flower shape and a button. This one has a square doily. And this one has the Earl S. Johnson fruit and produce again. This is a ephemera piece. I believe it's in a Tim Holtz set, and it has a little frame. So I just glued it on there so that the number 12 shows through from the receipt. This is from a music book. This is a scale of sharps. In case you don't know, these little marks here are sharps. It means you play the note a half a step higher if it's got a sharp. This little photo is a mother and a little her little baby. So cute. And this is just a scrap of that pink receipt paper that I have. And here is another patent illustration, and it's a stamp. It actually has two figures of light bulbs, and I just tore this one off. These are rub-ons here. I made this tag a long time ago. It's another rub-on. I figured it was about time it got used. There's the other part of that collar. So it wrapped around here and then onto this page and then continued over here. So it made 3 little tuck spots. I love this little layered piece of gathered lace. I mean, the layers of lace are gathered and they're so tiny and delicate, and it's on the mesh background. Just so pretty. And another stitched slot pocket. And there we go. So these will be in my shop by the time the video goes up. I hope you enjoyed watching the process of making these, and I hope that you like the finished products. And I will leave the link to my shop below, and you can go over and check them out. And I'll see you again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.